You have to train. You have to keep your reflexes so that when you want it, it's there.
He cheated death in a flaming crash, swam 3 miles with sharks bumping his boots, then rode off to shoot a Western even though his ribs were cracked and his belt was broken. Think today's stars are steel? Wait until you meet the legends who made pain look easy. Number 20, Lee Marvin. Blood on the beach, bullets in his back. Yet he still limped straight into Hollywood glory. Lee Marvin earned every scar in the Pacific, where a sniper hit his foot and hip during the Battle of Saipan. He dug foxholes, watched a buddy fall beside him, and dragged himself to the sand until the shooting stopped. That wound won him a Purple Heart, but the nightmares never left. He once said war is surreal because you survive while never feeling whole again. Cameras later captured that hollow stare, and it chilled audiences in The Dirty Dozen and Point Blank. A stunt performer mocked veterans on set, so Marvin flattened him with one punch. Even his tombstone skips Hollywood fame and simply reads Lee Marvin, United States Marine Corps, World War II. But the next man was even quieter and twice as fierce. Number 19, Charles Bronson. Coal dust by age 10, bombing runs by age 20. Charles Bronson was forged beneath fire and sky. He flew 25 missions over Japan as an aerial gunner and wore his Purple Heart like another layer of skin. Bronson hated small talk and only smiled if the script demanded it. On one said a disrespectful actor mouthed off to a crew member, so Bronson slapped him silent and walked away without blinking. He performed his own high falls, broke 2 knuckles in one punch, and still finished the take. Steve McQueen whispered that Bronson was the scariest man he had ever met on either side of the camera. Think that sounds rough? The next star trained with a dragon. Number 18, James Coburn. Zencom wrapped around dynamite. James Coburn learned Jeet Kune Do from Bruce Lee himself and sparred full contact for fun. Even when rheumatoid arthritis clawed at his joints, he ditched pain pills, breathed deep, and fought through the agony. During one action scene, he smashed a co-star's rib. The director loved realism, and Coburn never broke character. He raced cars helmet-free, crashed a motorcycle that crumpled like paper, then brushed off the dust and kept rolling. Bruce Lee praised Coburn's discipline, and that icy focus turned him into Hollywood's silent thunder. He could break your nose with a grin, then thank you for staying in the moment. Still not rattled? The next man stared down a chain gang and won. Number 17, Robert Mitchum. Boxcar drifter, bare-knuckle bruiser, and a man who once had butted a reporter mid-question. Robert Mitchum looked dangerous because he was dangerous. He fought for wages during the Depression, shoveled in mining camps, and even spent nights on a chain gang after a Dust Bowl arrest. In 1948, police found him with marijuana, yet the jail stint only boosted his legend. On set, he spoke in a lazy drawl, barely rehearsed, and sometimes sipped moonshine before the cameras rolled. He flattened the photographer, kept talking as if nothing happened, and the crew believed him when he said acting is just showing up and not falling down. Mitchum rarely fell. His characters did the dying instead, but one actor punched through a blacklist and a helicopter crash. Number 16, Kirk Douglas. Born hungry, built like granite, Kirk Douglas never waited for a door to open. He kicked it down. A depth-charged shockwave injured him in the Navy. Yet he clawed straight into stardom with a voice that cracked like thunder. Studio bosses learned to fear that temper. He once threatened to remove a director from the set for changing a scene without asking. In 1991, a helicopter slammed into a plane and killed 2 passengers. Douglas crawled from the wreck and was back on camera within months. After a stroke in his 80s, he relearned every syllable so he could deliver one last speech. By boldly crediting a blacklisted writer on Spartacus, he helped shatter Hollywood's climate of fear. When he shouted, "I am Spartacus," he meant it with every muscle in his frame. And finally, the king of cool who raced against time itself. Number 15, Steve McQueen. Runaway kid, reform school rebel, Marine tank savior. Steve McQueen lived on the red line. As a teenager, he stole cars for kicks, fought police, and wound up in detention. Yet the asphalt never scared him. In the Marines, he rescued 5 men from a sinking tank, then carried that fearless streak into movies. McQueen refused stunt doubles, roaring over fences in The Great Escape, and sliding real race cars in Le Mans. He arrived on set bruised from weekend crashes, delivered lines with perfect cool, and roared off again before the clapperboard cooled. When cancer caught him, he crossed borders for experimental surgery, stealing a few extra months on his own terms. McQueen once declared, "I live for myself," and he burned that vow into every mile of road until the engine quit for good. Number 14, Danny Trejo. From San Quentin prison to Hollywood legend, Danny Trejo didn't just survive the streets. He conquered them and turned his scars into power. Trejo spent his youth in juvenile detention and maximum security prisons, including the notorious San Quentin. Behind bars, he became a boxing champion in 2 weight classes. But after beating addiction, he found himself counseling addicts, which landed him an accidental role in Hollywood. No auditions required. Those scary tattoos and terrifying glare were real, earned through gang fights, overdoses, and knife attacks. Trejo never needed makeup to look tough. He wore his battle scars proudly. Today, his gravelly voice inspires inmates, teaching them survival through redemption. Every mark on Trejo's body tells a story, a lifetime of war, struggle, and victory. But what the next guy survived made him a living legend. Number 13, Audie Murphy. 240 enemies defeated, 33 medals earned. Audie Murphy didn't just portray heroes, he defined heroism. At only 17, Murphy lied about his age to enlist and became a one-man army during World War II. He held off an entire German company alone, using a burning tank destroyer, winning the Medal of Honor. By war's end, Murphy was America's most decorated soldier, earning every U.S. combat medal possible. Yet Murphy never glorified war. He battled severe PTSD, sleeping with a loaded pistol under his pillow. He once challenged a disrespectful critic to a duel, but Hollywood didn't know what he truly faced. When Murphy played himself in Hell and Back, his quiet voice of the reality, he'd already walked through hell and survived. But the next actor wasn't quiet. He was wild chaos. Number 12, Oliver Reed. Oliver Reed drank like a warrior, fought like a gladiator, and terrified directors into submission. He was chaos dressed in style. Reed famously drank over 100 pints in just 4 days, then swaggered on the set ready for war. He once battled 5 rugby players and emerged victorious. During filming, he knocked out a co-star during a choreographed fight and refused to apologize. He even burned himself with a lit cigarette on live TV, just to prove he could. Reed died after downing a dozen drinks and arm wrestling strangers while filming Gladiator. His reckless intensity scared studios, who knew they could never tame him. Reed's anger never needed directing. It was always genuine. But wait until you see the fire hidden inside the next star. Number 11, Tommy Lee Jones. Harvard graduate, Texas cowboy, and tougher than iron nails, Tommy Lee Jones doesn't tolerate weakness. Raised breaking horses on a Texas ranch, Jones earned a football scholarship at Harvard, where he once fought a teammate for mocking his size. He's worked oil rigs, done his own dangerous stunts, and allegedly slapped a director for rushing a scene. He memorizes entire pages of dialogue instantly, then delivers every line with ice-cold precision. Between filming, he runs his cattle ranch, herding livestock himself. When a co-star once asked if he actually liked acting, Jones replied bluntly, "No, I just do it well." Jones isn't interested in fame, only grit, toughness, and respect. But even Jones can't match the bare-knuckle street fighter up next. Number 10, Sean Connery. Before Bond, Sean Connery was a bodybuilder, nightclub bouncer, and bare-knuckle brawler. Who needs gadgets when you have fists of iron? Growing up poor in Edinburgh, Connery polished coffins and delivered milk before bodybuilding led him to Mr. Universe competitions. He worked as an enforcer for real London gangsters, once single-handedly beating up a group of attackers who tried robbing him. On Bond sets, Connery broke a stuntman's nose and insisted on performing his own brutal fight scenes. His explosive temper and relentless discipline lasted well into his 60s. Connery famously declared, "I'm not James Bond, but I am a Scotsman, and that's more dangerous." But no one mastered toughness like the next man. Number 9, Humphrey Bogart. Humphrey Bogart's famous snarl wasn't acting. It came from real battle scars he carried proudly into every ruthless role. During World War I, Bogart served in the Navy and suffered a permanent facial injury from shrapnel, creating the trademark lisp and menacing stare. Off-screen, he drank heavily, openly challenged studio executives, and fiercely protected women on set. When one studio head tried pushing him around, Bogart simply said, "Go to hell," took the leading role anyway, and walked off triumphant. He bravely supported blacklisted artists during Hollywood's darkest days, risking his own career. Even cancer couldn't stop him from acting. He never showed weakness. Bogart famously stated, "The only thing you owe the public is a good performance." And he lived that philosophy with every breath. But if you think Bogart was fast, wait until you meet the next legend. Number 8, Bruce Lee. Bruce Lee wasn't just fast. He moved quicker than film itself, shattering racial barriers and becoming a living legend. Lee trained relentlessly in Wing Chun, boxing, fencing, and judo as a teen. He invented Jeet Kune Do, blending philosophy with unstoppable force. Lee performed push-ups on just 2 fingers, and his 1-inch punch could send grown men flying backward. Rejected by Hollywood for lead roles, Lee exploded into superstardom in Hong Kong. His strikes were so fast directors had to slow footage down. He famously challenged traditional martial artists, defeating every opponent with stunning ease. Bruce Lee didn't just fight on screen. He battled a world that underestimated him, smashing doors open for everyone who followed. He trained like a warrior, fought like a gangster, and never needed acting lessons to rage. Number 7, James Caan. James Caan earned a black belt under karate master Takeshi Kubota, sharpening his fists to match his fiery temper. To prepare for The Godfather, he mingled with real mobsters, soaking in their violence until it became his own. He shattered a co-star's nose during a fight scene and decked a paparazzi for snapping photos of his daughter. Multiple arrests never bothered him. He called it setting boundaries. Director Coppola once said Jimmy never needed instructions, just room to explode. Friends named him Jimmy the Shark because every scene felt like a street fight, and Caan usually left standing. But wait until you meet the next man, a real-life war machine who stormed beaches and walked away alive. Number 6, Charles Durning. Charles Durning stormed Omaha Beach on D-Day, took 3 bullets to his body, and still kept fighting. He battled enemies in hand-to-hand combat, escaped a Nazi prison camp, and earned the Silver Star, Bronze Star, and Purple Heart. Yet nightmares from the war followed him home. Acting became his therapy, though he never glamorized combat. Once he quietly said, "I don't talk about the war. I can't." Off camera, he was humble, but when the lights switched on, a quiet rage filled the screen. Durning understood life, death, and pain better than any script ever could. Still not convinced? The next actor punched co-stars unconscious and wrestled wild animals for fun. Number 5, Rod Taylor. A bruiser straight from the Australian outback, Rod Taylor boxed through knives and trained in combat stunts just for kicks. He cracked 3 ribs filming The Time Machine, yet finished the movie without saying a word. In a real fight with Lee Marvin, Taylor came out on top, and when an actor insulted a crew member, he laid him flat without hesitation. Weekends were spent mastering pistols and wrestling beasts. He never bluffed. When asked about retirement, Taylor snapped, "Why? I'm not dead yet." In Hollywood, plenty of stars pretend to be heroes. Rod Taylor lived like one every day. Think you've seen tough? Meet the Marine who dragged paparazzi into traffic. Number 4, Gene Hackman. At 16, Hackman lied about his age to join the Marines, fighting bare-knuckle battles overseas. After the service, he drove trucks, worked radios, and stormed Hollywood arm of volcanic rage. One day, he grabbed an annoying photographer by the collar, dragging him into oncoming traffic. Another time, he punched a hole in a studio wall mid-scene. Co-stars feared him, respected him, and kept their distance. Hackman famously said, "I don't trust charm," and he meant it. He brought raw power into every role, never learning it from acting schools. He learned from real life. If you think Hackman's tough, Wait until you see the star who shattered his own face. Number 3, Mickey Rourke. Mickey Rourke wasn't just method. He was wild. He boxed professionally, smashing ribs, splitting his tongue, and shattering his nose beyond recognition. Hollywood wanted a polished star, but Mickey chose to fight instead, sleeping on gym floors, living alongside gangsters, and admitting, "I lost everything, but I didn't sell out." When he returned, botched surgeries had changed his face forever, but he took on brutal roles no one else dared touch. He trained with legendary coach Freddie Roach, sparred with champions, and welcomed real pain like an old friend. Mickey wasn't a comeback story. He was Hollywood's fiercest warning, ready to meet a legend who survived sharks and threatened producers at gunpoint. Number 2, Clint Eastwood. Drafted during the Korean War, Clint Eastwood's plane crashed into shark-infested Pacific waters. He swam over 3 miles to safety, lived to tell the story, then rode back into Hollywood tougher than ever. He insisted on total control of his films, warning a producer, "Touch the script again, and I'll break your hand." Eastwood rode wild horses, filmed stunts in blistering desert heat, and carried loaded revolvers on set at home and camping. He never chased fame. It bowed to him, respecting the stare that could silence anyone. He never blinked, never apologized, and never needed a second take. But one man stands taller than all, broken bones and all. Number 1, John Wayne. John Wayne didn't just play tough cowboys. He lived tougher than any role. A surfing accident crushed his athletic dreams, breaking his collarbone and ended his football career at USC. Yet he never complained or blamed others, filming movies with cracked ribs, collapsed lungs, and cancer eating at his insides. In 1964, Wayne lost a lung to cancer but returned stronger, still riding horses and delivering scenes without a hint of pain, filming the shouldas while battling stomach cancer. He had agony behind every line. He challenged co-stars, defied critics, and lived by a code tougher than any script. His gravestone reads Fio, fuerte y formal, ugly, strong, and dignified. It wasn't just a slogan, it was who he was. Even after Hollywood faded, Wayne still rode tall in the saddle. Think you've seen it all? Tap one of the videos on screen to discover more shocking Hollywood secrets. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and watch what Hollywood doesn't want you to know.